My name is Mahesh Ayar, Assistant Professor and HOD in Computer Science, Government First Grade College, Tumkur. Object-oriented programming using C++. This subject is in second year BCA, third semester. In this session, I will explain chapter 1 of the object-oriented programming using C++. Objective. The main objective of this session is what here, how the OOPS has been evaluated, as well as history of C++. Next, to recap. Here you know that C language is there. I think all of you know that. You know that how to write the program in that, how to design it. Then you know that mainly in programming, mainly there are two types: procedure-oriented and object-oriented. C is a procedure-oriented language. C++ is an object-oriented language. Now let us see evaluation of OOP. OOP means that object-oriented programming was evolved to overcome the drawbacks of conventional programming method. In conventional programming methods means that like C language, there are so many drawbacks are there. There is no hiding of data and other things are there. That those problems can be solved in OOPS. In OOPS, problem is divided into entities called what are objects. OOPS concentrate on data rather than the functions. It will be the more preference to the data. And another thing in OOPS is what here, it does not allow data to flow freely around the system. In OOPS, we can hide the data. Once you hide the data, there is a security for the data. Next, we'll pass on to organization of data and functions in OOPS. In OOPS, the main thing is what an object. In the latest stage, in latest chapter, we will discuss what is object, how it will be created. Everything we'll discuss later on. Here assume object A is there, object B is there, object C is there. Object A having the functions as well as data, B also and C also. The beauty of OOPS is what you know, we can communicate object A as well as object B if you want. That means what here, we can exchange informations, data, whatever you want. Next to pass on to limitations of POP. POP means procedure oriented programming. Actually, POP is not suitable for modeling real world problem because it is deals with the unreal world problems. In POP, there is no security for the data, whatever stored in computer, as well as there is no integrity between the data. In POP, data cannot be hidden. That means what is there is no security for the data. And in the POP, there is no inheritance and polymorphism. This all comes under C++. In C++, there is inheritance, there is polymorphism. It is not available under POP, procedure-oriented programming. POP polymorphism is there. Now we'll discuss later chapter. There is different chapters are there. There we will discuss it. POP follows top-down approaching. In POP, data or code cannot be reused, especially code cannot be reused. Code means the existing code. In the POP, data will be saved by many functions. But in object-oriented programming, it doesn't allow the data, movement of the data around the system. Here, difficult to write and understand. We can write it anything, whatever you want, we can write it in POP. We have to take a lot of risk. Now, let us see a difference between procedure programming and object programming. In procedure programming, data or function, whatever, it divided into small parts called what a function. In object-oriented programming, divided into small parts called what a object. Here, in procedure-oriented programming, you call it as function. In object-oriented programming, you call it as object. Procedure-oriented programming allows top-down approach, whereas object-oriented programming allows bottom-up approach. In procedure-oriented programming, there is no access specifiers. But in object-oriented programming, there is access specifiers. Access specifiers are private, public, and protected. In later stage, we'll discuss in detail. In procedure-oriented programming, new data or function cannot be added easily. But whereas in the object-oriented programming, data or function can be added easily. In procedure-oriented programming, there is no hiding of data. Hiding of data means that data should be stored under memory. Even though if you know the tracks and sectors, we cannot access the data because data should be hidden. That is hiding of data. In procedure-oriented programming, there is no hiding of data. Means that there is no security for the data. In object-oriented programming, there is hiding of data. Means that there is a security for the data. In procedure-oriented programming, there is no overloading facility. Whereas in object-oriented programming, there is overloading facility of the function, whatever you want. In procedure-oriented programming, function is more important than data. But whereas in the case of object-oriented programming, it will give the more preference to data rather than the functions. Procedure-oriented programming is based on unreal world, but object-oriented programming is based on real world. This is about what you know, difference between procedure-oriented programming and object-oriented programming. Next we'll pass on to history of C++. Here I will not discuss in depth. Actually, it is started in development of C++ started in Welch Labs, USA. That means C++ is nothing but advance of C language. You see C and C++ timeline when they have started, how they have developed, everything it is there in the chart. Objects will be communicate with each other in C++. We can create any number of objects but you can communicate with each other. But objects are independent. Another beauty of C++ is what here now. Binding the data and function together. This is history when it is started, where it is started, who developed C language and C++. Other things are there here. Now let us discuss features of object-oriented languages. Data is hidden and cannot be accessed by external functions. Means that what here? C++ give the more important to hiding of data. Once you hide the data, externally nobody can touch your data because data should be hidden here. Here in object-oriented programming or language, programs are divided into elements known as object. Object can have data members and member functions. Later chapter will discuss. Objects may be communicated with each other through functions. Already I explained object A is there, object B is there. There we can establish communication between object A as well as object B through the functions. That means what here? We can get the data from the object A or object B. We can pass the data to object A or object B. New data and functions can be easily added. Here easily we can add the new data and new functions. It follows a bottom-up approach. And time will be saved. These are all features of C++. And also some other features are there here. We can easily upgrade the small to large system. From small to large system. Easily. In procedure oriented also we can do it. But we have to take a lot of risk. In object oriented language, we can build user defined data types. We can create our own data types. In object oriented programming, that is what there is a class as well as data members. Variables are called here the data members here. Applications of OOPs, where you can use OOPs. Nowadays, you know that artificial intelligence and expert systems are very popular. In real world, artificial intelligence is nowadays very popular. In all the fields, they are using artificial intelligence. And OOPs can be used in the simulation and modeling, object-oriented databases, HTML, hypertext markup language, hypermedia, CAD, CAM, computer-aided design, CAM means computer-aided manufacturing, and so on. Decision supporting system, neural networks, real-time systems, multimedia applications, you know that multimedia, GUI graphical user interface, office automation, etc. There you can use the OOPs, means object-oriented programming language. Thank you.